The first day of the Harvest Festival in the UK is known as Lammas Day, or Loafmas Day. Traditionally, for Lammas Day, a local baker would make a loaf of bread using wheat from the first harvest of the season, and this bread's often eaten for communion to start the Harvest Festival. Today, for our Harvest Festival, I'm making a decorative wheat sheaf bread. This is a traditional bread in England. Sometimes they're eaten for communion, but often they're dried as a decoration in a church or school to remember and celebrate the harvest. I love baking bread, and over the last year especially, it's been a really important part of my life. You can't rush the process of making bread, and you can't totally control it because the yeast is a living thing and it's a little bit temperamental. The same as flour. If it's depending on the humidity or all kinds of things that I don't totally understand, flour sometimes absorbs different amounts of water. So you can't totally control the process. You just have to feel what's happening and try and make the best guess that you can. Farmers also can't control the growth of their grain because the weather and the climate, bugs and diseases and floods and fires are uncontrollable a lot of the time. The best that we can do is to faithfully tend to what we have and wait for it to develop and grow, to nurture what we have, to hope and to pray and to wait. Baking bread is tactile and takes attention. There's no perfect amount of minutes to knead it for. You just knead until it's smooth and elastic. There's no perfect length of time to prove it for. You just have to wait until it doubles in size. There's no perfect amount of time to bake it for even. You bake it until it's golden brown and it sounds hollow when you tap on it. There are things I can do to affect the bread, but I need to work with the dough and allow it to do what it's going to do. I can't totally control the process. I can't rush it or take a shortcut. Good bread takes time. Baking bread this year has helped me remember to be attentive to what is in my care, to rest and feel and pay attention to what I'm doing, and to wonder at the miracle that our ancestors have experienced for hundreds of generations. This miracle of flour and water and salt and yeast coming together in so many different forms to nourish us and those that we love. So this Lammas Day loaf that I'm making is made to resemble a bunch of wheat. And I love that this bread started out as wheat and that's where it's ending as well. Ashes to ashes, wheat sheaf to wheat sheaf. So here I'm adding a little decorative braid to the wheat sheaf. It's all tied together in the harvest to make sure it doesn't fall apart. This bread takes extra time to make for no reason other than to look lovely. These braids that I'm doing don't add anything to the bread. The bread wouldn't fall apart without them, but it's all just decorative. And I love that in our festivals, in our Christian festivals, we take time to do things just because they're lovely and beautiful, just so that we can celebrate together the good things that we have received. Here I'm rolling out some of the wheat to look like the heads, rolling out some of the dough to look like the heads of wheat. So you roll them into a cone shape and then use a clean pair of scissors to snip away. This same method has been used for hundreds of years. That's one of my favourite things about making this wheat sheaf is the first time there was an illustration of one of these was in the 1600s. So for 400 years or even longer, people have been making this loaf of bread to celebrate the Harvest Festival. My family came from a rural background in England and Scotland, so it's likely that my ancestors made this loaf of bread just as I'm making it here today. The next thing I'm doing is assembling the wheat to look like a wheat sheaf here. So this harvest festival and this bread here is to help us celebrate the harvest and remind us of the continual miracle that the ground brings forward food for us to eat without our doing anything particularly miraculous about it. That God has created a world of abundance and beauty, and provision and care, and that we get to enjoy the good things in the world and celebrate the harvest together. I loved making this loaf of bread, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching it. And here it is, here back in its natural habitat among the wheat.